What the hell is a podcast and why should I care? And should I think about starting my own podcast? After all, I have a lot to say. I'm of a certain age, I have a lot to say. Maybe that's you. Now, if you've ever asked yourself any of these questions, buckle up because today we're diving into podcasting 101. Can you tell I'm excited? Okay, we're going to talk about how to listen, how to watch, where to find podcasts, why more older adults are getting into them. Smart. And yes, whether you could someday start your own. And wait till you meet our guests. Whew, from one of the top podcasting platforms out there, and the very platform that hosts the Ageless Glamour Girls Podcast for 4 years. Yes, since from the beginning. Now, you'll meet her shortly. But first, we have to take a quick break. But not to worry, though. We'll be back in a flash, a hot flash. Hey, lovies. The Ageless Glamour Girls Boutique is now open. We've got signature tees, totes, mugs, and more, all inspired by the bold, beautiful, brilliant women who make up this amazing community. So when you get a moment, stop by agelessglamourgirlsboutique.com and take a look around. I'd love to know what catches your eye. And as always, cheers to healthy aging and joyful living. Welcome back to the Ageless Glamour Girls Podcast. I'm your host, Marqueeta Curtis-Haynes. I'm founder and CEO of the lifestyle brand, Ageless Glamour Girls, where we empower, celebrate, and love all over bold, beautiful, brilliant women, 50 plus, along our ageless aging journey. Now, today's conversation is such an important one because I can't tell you how many women come up to me. I meet them someplace and I say, I have a podcast. And they're like, what is a podcast? And how can I participate? Because I love having my little chat fest, Ageless Chat Fest. And a lot of the women aren't familiar. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do a show about this. So as I mentioned earlier, how do I listen? How do I watch? Do I need Spotify? Is it on YouTube? Do I need special equipment? And one of my favorite questions recently came from a relative whom I had reached out to ask her to appear in the group chat. And she's like, so what is a podcast? And is that something that we do over the phone, just the two of us? And so I said, okay, it's time to have a conversation. And I'm sure she's not alone with that. So today we're breaking it all down in a welcoming, non-intimidating way. Because that's how we roll. And wait till you meet our guest. She is so cool. Joining us today is Jordan Blair. She's a podcast producer at Buzzsprout and co-host of Buzzcast. They're wonderful, so informative and enlightening podcast. Now, Jordan helps creators better understand podcasting, audience growth, consistency, monetization, and building successful indie shows. Now, full disclaimer. Jordan and I met at Podfest, this wonderful podcasting conference that's held in Orlando. I think 2 or 3 years ago, and every year I go back and we say hi. And Buzzsprout has the best parties, just so you guys know, at Podfest. So anyway, back to Jordan. Enough about us meeting. Jordan has been podcasting for 7 years, has produced multiple shows, and is passionate about helping creators navigate podcasting in practical, approachable ways, even without a huge team, hello, or expensive setup, hello. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Marqueeta. I'm so excited to be here. It feels like forever since we talked at Podfest, so it's about time.
Exactly. So thank you. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, what the hell is a podcast? So that's where I want to start with that. What exactly is a podcast? For example, explain it to someone completely new to this game.
Yeah. So a podcast is, I love, there's James Cridland. He's like a journalist in like Australia, and he kind of defined a podcast as something for your ears when your eyes and hands are busy. And I love that because there's so much media out there that just requires so much of your full attention.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about podcasts is because they can be consumed in either audio or video format,
Mm-hmm.
you have the flexibility to have your favorite hosts or your favorite shows along with you for any part of your like daily routine. They can go with you in the carpool lane, you know, when you're dropping like grandkids off at school,
Mm-hmm.
or they can go with you when you're grocery shopping and you can have a little like earbud in your ear and listen to your favorite true crime podcast while you're shopping. And, you know,
those are popular. True crime. Yeah.
And then you can listen to them while you're out for your daily walk or at the gym. Like it's media that keeps you entertained, educated, enthralled while you're going through your daily life, and it fits within your life. You don't have to stop and sit down on the couch and, you know, take out time to watch something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what podcasts really are.
And it grows every year.
Yeah, it's getting huge. Actually, last year, podcasting crossed the mainstream, which means that we have crossed the threshold where more than 50% of people know what a podcast is. They consume it on the regular. Mm-hmm. And so now we've gone like mainstream. It used to be that podcasts were this kind of weird thing that we were just telling everyone, like, you've got to try this out. This is the best thing ever. And now they're starting to make TV shows and movies about podcasts. And so, yeah, we're getting popular.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Glad to hear that and know that. Oh, you mentioned audio and video. Of course, a lot of people, most people do get their shows on audio. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes.
Now, but to your point, you know, when you're busy, you're out walking, you're out jogging, whatever, you're running the kids here and there, you have the grandkids and you're, you know, out with them, you have to pay attention and you're 100%, of course. However, you know, you might have something in your ear listening to one of your favorite shows, but you also mentioned video. So when did video come about? And as I understand it, that's really growing, the video end of it.
Yes, video is growing. I don't think it's nearly to the point of audio yet in the context of podcasts, but it is growing in popularity. There are ways to get your video onto multiple platforms. So like Apple Podcasts has adopted video as a podcast format. Spotify has adopted video and they're really pushing it. And YouTube, obviously. And I heard that Amazon Music is actually going to be integrating some video as well. So all these big platforms are starting to integrate video. And I think that it's actually kind of a cool step up from audio podcasts, just because there's certain like categories or certain genres of podcasts that do really do well with a video element to it. So like documentary podcasts, or, you know, like I'm going to use the true crime genre. You know, if they're talking about a case where there's like scene photos or like suspects and they're talking about visual elements of something, or, you know, if you look at this car, you can tell that it, you know, it didn't roll over on whatever. They can put images up on the screen and then you can like look at it. I've heard of history podcasts doing this, all sorts of things. So there are times when a video and a visual element does make a difference with podcasting. And I think it's pretty popular just because people, you know, they really love their podcast hosts, and I think it's kind of fun for people to see them too, see their faces. So yeah, it's something that I'm starting to play with a little bit, but I do love audio first. That's my favorite. I get very frustrated when podcast hosts go so far into video that they forget that they have an audio audience.
That is so true.
It's so true. It's so frustrating. I was listening to one, and it was a video podcast as well as an audio podcast, but they forgot about their audio audience. And so there was one point the two hosts were sitting together, and this one host goes, "Oh, those are neat. Where'd you get those?" And the guy said, "Oh, I got them when I was scuba diving." She's like, "You're kidding." And he goes, "No, yeah." And I was like, "What are they talking about?" And it turned out, I went back to the video, they were talking about a pair of glasses that were sitting on the table between them. And I was like, you have to explain for me because I can't see what's happening.
You're so right, because I am guilty of that every once in a while. I'm like, I'll make a comment. I'm like, okay, and then I'll say, oh, we're talking about blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're just so engrossed in the conversation, and
Yeah.
so you forget. But
Mhm.
getting back to what you're saying about the love for audio, and that's where it all started. The podcast. That's my show started like that,
Yeah.
and there was so much. Less intimidation. It's like you have the script, so you just blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and then the video crept up, and then a friend of mine who was editing my show at the time, he says, you know what, you should do video. I'm like, oh my God, okay, all right. It's like whatever, it's like let's do it, but it can be very intimidating. And when I'm around my family and friends, I am. I'm chatty Cathy. I'm a talker. That's who I am, as
Yeah.
from meeting, me at Podfest. But it's something about being on camera with a show that can be very intimidating. How do you make that transition? How do you get comfortable in front of the camera like that?
I am of the belief that you don't have to get comfortable in front of the camera just because, podcasts, like I said, it's an audio first medium.
Mm-hmm.
And so a few of my shows, they're not on video. They're probably never going to be on video. And I only recommend video if it makes sense for your podcast and if it makes sense for you. I think that it does add some barriers because, of course, it's so funny. It's always, I've noticed this a little bit. It's always men saying you have to do an audio or a video podcast. Like you should do a video podcast. You should do video. And I think that men say that more often because they don't have to, put on some extra makeup that day or get dressed. And I'm just like, easy for you to say.
Exactly.
One of the things I love about podcasting is like, so I have a bedtime story podcast. It is going to be audio only forever. I will never do video for this.
Yes.
And part of that is that there's times where I'm so busy that the only time I get to record that episode is real quick, like in the morning when my hair's still up in a messy bun and I'm still in my pajamas and not a lick of makeup on, or, like late at night and the lighting's going to be bad, but I'm just reading from a script. Like you mentioned, when you're audio only, you can look at your script, but when you're video, you have to like be looking down the barrel of the camera and make sure that, my bookshelf in the back isn't too messy or whatever.
Yes. I can relate to that. We were just talking earlier. I mean, when we first started, I'm like, oh my God, I can see that. Oh my God, I can see that. I was supposed to do that. And yes, you're so right. Because the friend who used to edit my show, the one who got me into, the video and all that, as a matter of fact, he's like, a couple of months ago, he's like, you should start doing more live. You can easily do a show 5 days a week, and I'm like,
my goodness.
I'm like, are you crazy? He doesn't do a podcast. See, I'm like, are you crazy? Yeah. And it's like, he's like, I know you trip off your hair and the makeup, you got to do it like a lot of other women, get a wig and then you can just put it on and just go. Oh my gosh. My background is television news, but writer, producer, right? But I'm behind the scenes, never on camera. And so it's like, along the years, people would say, why aren't you in front of the camera? I'm like, because I don't want to have to comb my hair every day.
Every day, yeah.
And that's what you have to do. So so there are pluses and minuses. And what I love about the video shows, of course, is YouTube. You can establish your following on YouTube. And YouTube is a pretty big deal.
It is. And the reason why it's such a big deal is because they have built an algorithm that just serves up anything that it thinks you might be interested in. It'll actually tell you what you're interested in. It'll be like, oh, it seems like you like this. You know what you'd really like is this too. And that's one of the things that has made YouTube just absolutely boom is they have perfected the recommendation algorithm. They know what you're into before you even know what you're into.
Wow.
and that's the funny thing. Like a lot of these podcasting apps, such as I used to say Spotify. I feel like Spotify has gotten a lot better about recommending podcasts to you. But if you listen to podcasts on Apple Podcasts or on Amazon or on Pocket Cast, there's a bunch of like little podcast apps that you can download onto your device and get a feel for what you like. Right. But most of them don't have a recommendation algorithm. They just base discovery entirely upon, like person to person recommendations. And then you search it in the app, or they will have editorial kind of lists where it's like, hey, these are the podcasts that we're into this month. But that's kind of the cool thing about podcasts is it's this precious little biome where the only way that you find new podcasts usually is through stumbling upon it, or someone recommends it to you that you trust, and or you encounter them at a conference and they're talking on stage and they say that they host this podcast. And you go, oh, actually, I really like these people. I'm going to go look at that. And so that's kind of the cool thing about podcasts is you're encountering things that you're going to be interested in. It's not like social media where it's just constantly feeding you new content all the time, and then you start getting down this weird rabbit hole and you're like suddenly like, why am I getting served all these weird videos? I'm not into any of this, and you have to leave the app and walk away for a bit. And I think a lot of that is thanks to YouTube, because they were really the pioneers of that recommendation algorithm and like showing people, like just queuing up the next video. And you'll notice that even while you're watching videos on YouTube, off on the side, they're recommending a bunch of other stuff. And so it makes your attention span just so short, because you're watching something, you're like, ooh, what's that? And then you click on that. And,
you're in a candy store.
Exactly. Yeah. So yes, YouTube is really great for podcast discovery and stuff like that. But I kind of feel like regular podcasting apps are a little bit better for audience retention, just because they're not constantly doing these flashing lights like, look at this over here, look at this over there.
Right. That makes sense. And as a matter of fact, we were my next question was, how do you actually watch or listen to a podcast? And you mentioned Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Earlier on, I think you mentioned sitting in front of, your TV, smart TV.
Yes.
And, tablets, phones, computers, following, subscribing.
They're integrating podcasts into airplane seats and your car. Like there's CarPlay, where if you have a dash in your car that has like the screen, you can listen to podcasts on there, and it's all integrated in. Yeah, podcasts are everywhere now. It's kind of cool.
It really is. It really is. And, the subject matter is just amazing. You can, different things. But so if somebody wants to find a podcast or listen to a podcast, what is the first thing they would do? Say, for example, if you meet somebody at the grocery store and you tell them, I have a podcast. And so do you give them, where do you tell them to look? Do you tell them to Google the name of the show? Or how do you tell them to look for the podcast?
Actually, Google does work really well. And a lot of times what will happen is it will take you to the podcast website, because hopefully the podcaster has a website. And that's kind of the cool thing about podcasts. Like I mentioned earlier, like the way that a podcast works, I mean, if we're just going to backtrack a little bit here, essentially the way that a podcast works is the podcaster creates a show, they record it, they edit it, it's ready to go. They upload it to the podcast hosting site, and then the host will just distribute that episode out to all the platforms such as Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, Pocket Cast, Overcast, Podbean, or not Podbean. I forget the word of it. But there's like a bunch of different like podcast apps that you can go to. And so typically, if you Google a podcast, it should pop up with the podcast's website. And if you go to the podcast website, a lot of times, I know especially on like the Buzzsprout websites, there'll be little links to all the different apps. And so you can say like, oh, I listen on Spotify, so I'm going to click that Spotify link, and then I'll take you to the show, and you can subscribe there. And then you get all the episodes delivered to you.
And I like what you said. You can subscribe.
Yeah.
That's why as podcast hosts, we're always like, please subscribe to my show.
Yes.
Subscribe to my show. That way, when a show is coming out. Of course, like Ageless Glamour Girls Podcast drops every Wednesday. Like most of us, when you're a solo when you're solo, you're doing everything. We're going to get to that in a minute.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, you do the best you can. You do the best you can. But I love podcasting. I'm not going to lie. I just love it. And yeah,
Mhm.
if I had a big staff, of course, I would love to do one, Monday through Friday. Who wouldn't? You're sharing information. Hopefully you're helping people and empowering people. So yeah, why not? But that's a whole other story. So I want to talk about the equipment. Um, Now let's see. Yeah, I want to talk about the equipment. So if you're a beginner,
Mhm.
where should you start if you wanted to start your own show?
Yeah.
Video or audio. What should you do?
Oh man, it's so funny. I think my answer would have been different even 5 years ago. But
Hmm.
in recent years, there have been so many new advances in the creator field. And so it used to be that you had to have a specific microphone and then you have to have an XLR cable. And well, that XLR cable has to plug into an audio interface. And then the audio interface has to have the specific like settings on it, and then you can plug it into your computer, and then you have to have a certain DAW for editing. That is like gone are the days.
Yeah.
Now it's like you go to Adobe has like a new podcast website where you can
Hmm.
just like record a podcast, and then you can like edit it as like a transcript and
Hmm.
export it. And it's so easy. And nowadays, a lot of the microphones actually come with USB plugins. So one of my favorite microphones to recommend to somebody who is especially new, like if you want plug and play and you don't want to have to fiddle with a whole bunch of
Hmm.
different
Hmm.
pieces of equipment, because I know I didn't when I first started. I'm a little
Hmm.
bit of a gearhead now. Now that I'm like 7 years into it, I
Right.
love all the
Right.
light up stuff and all the settings and whatever, all the fancy things I
You're
really don't
fancy. You're
need.
fancy.
I don't need any of it.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Right.
um but I mean, now you can just have like a USB microphone. I actually have uh I have one here that I let my daughter use all the time.
Uh-huh.
And it's just a simple, like this was like a $70 microphone. You can
Hmm.
do, there's like an Audio Technica one, and there's a Samsung Q2U, and it
Hmm.
looks like the classic microphone that people have when they're just on stage holding it. And it just
Hmm.
has a USB plug in the back and then
Hmm.
a USB out. And
Explain what a USB is.
a
Just in case.
USB. I
Uh-huh.
actually don't know what a USB is. I couldn't tell you. It's one of those things like if society was gone and they said, "Can you explain what a USB is?" I wouldn't know how to
I'm
explain it.
there too. I know you plug it in and
You
stuff
plug it
works.
in and it works. um, but it's just, yeah, it just has a wire that will plug into your phone, your tablet, your computer.
Mhm.
And it's so cool because like my daughter, she wanted to start a podcast. And so I
Mhm.
just let her borrow my USB microphone that was like
Ooh.
$70.
Uh-huh.
And she just plugged it in, found an app to record and edit her little podcast.
Mhm.
And she just plugged it into her tablet, recorded it, and then was able to make like a full podcast episode. And it took her like an hour. And I just think it's so cool. So if you do want to start a podcast, that's all I recommend, is just making sure that you have a way to record and edit, which nowadays is very easy
Oh
because
my gosh.
there's apps on your phone, there's
Yes.
apps on a tablet if you have a tablet, if you just have like a computer, and you just need one thing, and that is a USB microphone. Or honestly, nowadays a lot of these newer phones, especially like a brand new iPhone, the microphones and the cameras are
Mhm.
just as good as what's built into a computer.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
wild.
Yes.
Like the quality's really good.
It
And
did.
so yeah.
Yes. 'Cause it's funny you say that because sometimes people be like, "Oh, do you have a special microphone or camera? Your stuff looks great and it sounds great." I'm like, "Please." I wish I had my microphone handy. I have two that I bought
Yeah.
the past couple of years. They're in a closet somewhere.
Because
You know,
you're like, I don't
there's
need them.
there was some disconnect with the USB, and you're right. In the beginning, a friend of mine bought this thing with all these little knobs. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then over the
Yes.
years, stuff started changing. And so, still I have two nice, fancy microphones. I have the stand, that stuff is in there. I don't even use it. I do everything right on my laptop.
Yeah.
The audio, the video. And wait, there's more. Wait, this little thing right here, this little camera.
Oh yeah, your camera.
Yeah. It's never been on top of the monitor. It's always been in my drawer. And I keep saying, I'm going to hook this thing up one of these days.
I bought a $200 Logitech camera to go for the same reason. I bought a $200 one. And then I was like, actually, I kind of like my monitor camera a bit better. And it's in the drawer.
So, and I remember when people first started podcasting, to keep out the noise, you just go into your closet, but that was the audio only. Just go into your closet and do your thing.
That's one of the things I love. There's, I think it was during COVID. Mm-hmm. There's this photo that circulated of Ira Glass, who recorded, This American Life, one of the most famous shows like in the history of podcasts. Mm-hmm. And it was an image of him in a suit in a closet, like surrounded by clothes with a microphone and his laptop up on like a TV tray. Mm-hmm. And that was how he recorded This American Life, which, like I said, is one of the most famous podcasts ever.
Wow. See? So what you're saying is, don't be intimidated by all of this fancy equipment, even for a video podcast. You should see my setup. And I have the laptop and I have a monitor, which is on a stand. And then I have a plastic container that I keep business cards in, and another little cute little cardboard little box. And and here I am.
That's what a lot of people do. They'll stack up boxes or books and put their computer up on it so that the camera is kind of parallel to their eyes, so it looks really good. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you just need to be facing a light source. It could be a window or it could be a ring light. A lot of us have those now. It could be a ring light. And you want to make sure that you are recording in an environment that has a lot of soft surfaces. So we don't want bathrooms. We don't want kitchens, nothing with like a hard surface or high ceilings. So it's ideal to record actually in a bedroom or perhaps a living room if you have like a lot of drapes and like soft furniture and throw pillows and stuff. One of my favorite hacks to do when I first started, before I had like, panels and sound treatment and all that stuff, was I would go, when it was time to record, I would go and take the cushions off of my couch and I would put them up to my left and my right. And I would have a cushion in front of me, like behind the computer. And then it just kind of like boxed me in and you couldn't see them, but they were around me, and it actually made the sound so good. It was just like studio quality. Great.
Wow. Wow. I love it. And so you don't need all that fancy stuff. You probably already own what you need to get started to do your show. And not only to do your show, but to be a guest on the show. And I have to cover that because, as I mentioned earlier, I contacted someone a couple of weeks ago because I love doing the live, the live hits every once in a while, or what I call the Ageless Chat Fest, a group of women, like 4 or 5 women, 3 or 4 women. And I'll send a note, hey, you want to join me on the show? And it's like, oh, I don't know what a podcast is. I don't know this. I don't know, what do I need to do? And I'm like, it's simple. I'm going to send you a link. And you just click on that link. But here again, you can send people instructions on how to properly, you have to face a window, don't be too far back, this and that. But still, when people join, the cameras are going the wrong way, the phone's going away. So now I put it in my invite. This is the way this is the way you set it up. And it's easy. And of course, you can do it on your phone. It's no big deal. You can do it right on your phone. You can set it up against something, your books, and there you have it. You can, tilt it this way. You can do it that way. And all you have to do is click on the link that I send you and show up. And then we get that party started. And pay attention to all the instructions, because sometimes, I always stress on camera. But I do have occasionally women will show up, with their house clothes on, whatever, So, like, oh, is this video? I'm like, yes, video. So here again, when you get an invite, just make sure you watch the directions and be cognizant of time. And if you're in a group setting, of course, if there are 3 or 4 women, everybody needs a chance to talk. I love my
Mhm.
guests. I love my guests. But any other advice for people who want to be a guest on a show, what they should do, and why it's important to be a guest on a podcast, especially if you have a business or something?
Yes, this is a great question. I'm actually going to start with why it's so important to be a guest, why it's so great to be a guest.
Mm-hmm.
Guesting on podcasts, I think a lot of people think about it as like a marketing technique or like a promotional sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it can really be a great way to get into community with other people that are interested in the same thing as you. So let's say that you're a gardening enthusiast and you find a gardening podcast and you say, "Hey, I actually, I've been dabbling in." I forget the word. I used an example that I'm not super familiar with. I'm dabbling in getting starts for succulents and like how to do this. Would it be okay if I came onto your podcast and talked about that? And they go, "Oh my gosh, yes, we haven't done an episode on that." It's a great way to get in community with people that are in the same things as you are. And so you kind of like make friends and then people reach out to you and they say, "Hey, I'm in this area too. Would you like to get coffee?" Like podcasts lead to so much, even if you're a guest on podcasts. Also, I feel like guesting on podcasts has really sharpened a lot of skills for me. I was very scared to do it at first, like even though I've been podcasting forever.
Mm-hmm.
When I started guesting on other people's podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
I had very intense anxiety about it.
Yes.
I was over preparing. I was overthinking everything. Like, don't sound dumb. Don't sound dumb.
Right.
Yeah. And it made me come across as like very stiff and just polished. Like I was trying to be polished, but it wasn't that polished. And
Right.
I
Right.
realized through all of the kind of trials of guesting on different podcasts, I was like, oh, it's so much better when I just treat this as a hangout with somebody and we're going to talk about something that I'm really passionate about. And this person's also really passionate about it.
That
And it's
part.
okay for me to just show up how I am. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also made me into such a more confident speaker. And I'm able to sort of convey things that I think a little bit more clearly, and I'm a little bit more concise in how I talk about things. And so, yeah, it's just helped so much. It's actually given me a lot more confidence, even getting on like stage and speaking at different conferences and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And here again, it's publicity. It's free publicity for, if you, whatever you're doing, you're having an art show coming up or whatever, hey, come talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I remember reading an article that was talking about if you have a business or if you have a new book, it's like you must, well, if you have a business, I was reading this article that was talking about how you really should have a podcast. But taking a step further, if you have a business or a book or something you're trying to promote, get on the show. Like you just mentioned, the marketing.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's free, and
podcasts have sort of become like the new late night circuit. It used to be if you were like a New York Times bestseller or if you had a new movie or TV show coming out, you could go on all the late night shows. I mean, you'll see this all the time. You'll see the same actors, the same writers, the same directors.
Oh, true.
Yeah, the same celebrity, whatever. They're all on the exact same show. Like they're doing the same thing, and it's just this circuit. And it used to be that kind of publicity was reserved for, the elite, the celebrities, the people who were doing like really big things and had publicists and lots of money, to do these kind of marketing techniques. And it feels like podcasting has really stepped into that role. But what's so cool about it is that it's accessible to everybody. You can be a self-published author and you just go and pitch yourself on a bunch of different podcasts about whatever the topic of the book is, or about writing or or self-publishing, whatever it may be. And you can get just as much reach, if not more, sometimes, honestly, that as you would if you were to get on news shows or like the local news or, anything like that, which is much harder to get booked on.
Mm-hmm. 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 That is so true. So you never know what's going to hit and where you're going to end up, whose show. It's so funny when I look at some of the shows that you just mentioned without giving names or anything, and you see someone promoting their book or promoting a new show, and I'm like, well, hell, I wonder if they would come on my little old podcast.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have a gazillion downloads. I wish I did, but I don't. But I do okay. But how important is it? As a little podcaster, should we not be intimidated by going after the big guest names to come on your show if they have something to say about your interests? The reason for your show.
And I think that's the key thing, Marqueeta, that you said is that just because someone's a big guest or a big name does not mean that they're a good guest for your podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it also doesn't mean that they are going to boost your podcast into popularity. Because what happens a lot of times, if you do get that big name guest and you're like, this is it, this is like, they're going to share it and all their followers are going to come over and like listen to the podcast. I have had so many podcaster friends that reeled in a big fish. And they're like, this is it. And then, that celebrity never shares the episode. Or
that hurts.
It hurts, but like they've got a lot going on.
But they do. I shouldn't say when I say that hurts, I'm talking about, people who've been on my show. Sometimes you're like, okay, but and that's the challenge with a lot of older.
Yeah.
It can get tricky. What is collaboration? What do you mean, except your collaboration? But anyway, that's another story.
Well, and this big name guest like may not even have a social media following. There's plenty of celebrities that actually don't really do social media. And so you have them on and it's like, who would they share it with?
True. That is so true.
And so I think that is like important to keep in mind. But if there is a big name guest that is perfect for your show, I think that it's okay to take a swing. But like I said, a lot of celebrities are very busy. And so there's a chance that they may say no. And that's fine too. You might as well just like reach out to them. But I think it's really important to do a heartfelt reach out. And I think that a lot of podcasters feel compelled to share their stats or their accolades. They're like, I'm a top like 163 in business podcast, and I was named Discover Pod's runner-up of 2022.
Right.
No one really cares about that. But if you reach out to a big name guest, like let's say a reality TV star, and you say, hey, I have a podcast and my listeners and we've been covering Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and we are obsessed with this season. And we loved how you handled this fight with whoever as they do.
Right.
And we were really rooting for you and we wanted to hear your side of the story with this. Like, would you be willing to come on the podcast? That is a personal story saying, hey, I'm a big fan of yours. My listeners are a big fan of yours. We want to get your side of the story. They're not going to be asking, well, how many listeners do you have? They'll say, oh yeah, like I'll get on for half an hour and talk to you about this. Sure. I want to tell my side of the story.
You're so right.
Yeah.
That is, it's all in your approach.
Yeah. And so you lead.
Be authentic.
Yeah. You lead from a place of authenticity, not from a place of here's my resume. Here's how great I am. Don't you want to be on my show? Because they don't need your publicity. They're just like, eh. But if you're passionate and you're like a huge fan, you're like, hey, I have a lot of people that are super supportive of you and are like fascinated by whatever, or they are obsessed with, we have a book club podcast. And we read your novel this summer and we could not get enough of it. It has been the top of discussion. It would be mind blowing to them if you would come on the podcast and talk about your book. Like they would be like, oh, that sounds so fun. Yes, I will come to that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know we have to wrap, but I have a couple more items I have to get to.
Sure.
You mentioned I mentioned up top that I've been with you guys for 4 years and Buzzsprout. From the beginning, you guys are amazing. And And I tell people all the time, customer service, oh my gosh, bar none.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I don't know about other podcasting platforms, but businesses, period, retail, groceries, whatever, you guys have the best customer service of any business that I deal with. I'm not kidding you.
Thank
And
you.
so I'm not kidding you. And so how important is it, especially, being older, you need someone holding your hand. You really do, so how important is it to have that wonderful support, that important support when someone is getting started?
It is so important. I know when I first started my podcast, I had this brilliant idea and I was like, this is great. It's like, I can't find a podcast like this. I'm obsessed with this idea. I have everything in my head. I know what the artwork's going to look like. I know how it's going to sound.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny. I would tell my friends and family and they're just like, that's kind of cool. Like they did not care.
Right.
Did not care.
Oh gosh.
It became like one of the top 1% podcasts of like the entire world. And I don't think any of them have even listened to it still. Like they do not care.
Right.
So it's nice to have a community of fellow podcasters and, people to like be in the trenches with you as you're trying to figure this out and cheering you on and saying, hey, actually, you know what? It's a lot easier if you do it this way. And we pride ourselves on our support. We actually consider our support team, like we actually call them the podcaster success team. We don't even call it really the support team.
Right.
And it's because our main goal is that you are successful as a podcaster. We want you to start podcasting and like have the confidence to start a podcast and then be so excited about it and so passionate about what you're doing that you keep podcasting thereafter. And our podcaster success team is, like you said, just out of this world, exceptional. They're the best. They are teachers. They are they all come from different walks of life. They actually don't really come from support background. Right. And so they all have different aspects that make them so stinking good at what they do. And it's so cool because even if you write them and you're like, hey, I'm just feeling really down right now, I'm not super pleased with my last episode, they will write you back and they'll be like, hey, I actually listened to your last episode and I thought it was great. And I think that this part was really strong and you should keep going. Like if you just need a pep talk, they will give you a pep talk. If you need someone to hop on screen with you and just share a screen and walk you through something, they will do that. They are the best. And we actually consider them a feature of Buzzsprout. I think a lot of places, it's kind of an afterthought. Like support is just, some sort of like group of remote workers, who knows where, and they're just trying to get through the inbox as fast as humanly possible. And we focus a lot of our attention and efforts into the podcaster success team because it's so important that when people write in and they're feeling confused, they're feeling frustrated, they're feeling like they're doing something wrong, that we can encourage them and say, hey, actually, you're on the right track and you just need a little bump. And they can go through all that. And then they're all very intentional, super cool people. They're all real.
Right. Yeah, I can attest to that. I've met them at Podfest.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to meet them. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I've corresponded. You've answered some of my questions, and to meet you here in person, and you guys at Podfest, you're just so welcoming there in person. Just to walk up and talk, and you guys have the best goodie gifts too.
We pride ourselves on our swag. Yeah. Oh, you've got one of the vintage shirts. That's gorgeous.
Yes. And that one when they gave it, that one. And I'm so mad because I forgot to get my keys. The keychain that you guys give out, the coolest little leather keychain with the QR code to your show on a keychain.
You got one. Okay.
I have one of those. Oh, yeah.
We did that one time because it was just like the special thing. And we were like, wouldn't it be cool if we did custom keychains for everybody? And we literally had our design team at the booth. People would come up and we would like the design team would actually work on the podcast logo, and then we would burn it into leather and then generate a QR code for your podcast and burn it into the other side of the leather. And it was so cool. We had like a line out the door at the conference room, and then we didn't do it again.
I was in that line.
Yeah.
What a cool gift.
Oh man, it was so cool. And then we didn't do it again because we were like, wow, that was a lot of work.
But you guys do have the best parties though, the best food. Let me tell you. What's the gentleman's name? The guy who runs it.
Albin?
Yes. You guys are so approachable. I laugh and talk with him each year. There he is.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel very blessed to be part of the Buzzsprout team because everyone is so genuinely kind, like in their core, kind and encouraging and fun. And it's a great vibe.
It really is. And like you said, the support team is school teacher. They come from all walks of life.
Yeah, one of them was like an NFL cheerleader, Kara. She's awesome. She does actually our podcasting Q&A, and she's killing it.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So thank goodness for you guys. Now, like I said, we got to wrap this up because I don't want to keep you over. But I want to get back to something I briefly talked about earlier about the age and the audience and the host skewing a little bit older. Why do you think podcasting is resonating so much more with us older people, us ageless glamour girls and guys? Well, it can't be a guy. It can't be an ageless glamour girl. But you get my point.
I think that podcasting is so much more approachable because it, like we said, it does not have to be video. So you do not have to have a camera on you. You can just be sitting in your living room or sitting in your bed even, like that's the thing. And with a microphone and just talking or, talking to like friends around the table, it's so much more approachable. And I think that especially in this day and age, during the pandemic, a lot of people had to learn how to use Zoom. Everyone in the world knows how to use Zoom. They know how to use Google Meet. And so podcasting has become so much more accessible, even to the older generations where there was kind of like a technical, I don't want to say barricade, but like a technical resistance in a lot of ways. And so now like everyone is very comfortable with social media, with posting on social media. Everyone is very comfortable with talking on phone and talking via Zoom. And so it's a lot easier to record those conversations. And like I said, you don't have to be on camera. So you don't have to have this big energetic, smash subscribe and, we'll see you next time. You don't have to do any of that. You can just talk about what you want to talk about. And so I think that podcasting is a perfect medium for older generations. There's actually a huge influx of people in like nursing homes and stuff like that starting up podcasts. And it's a new like thing that I have seen recurring over and over again. And some of them, their podcasts are blowing up because people want it's the coolest thing ever. I wish I could remember the names of them, but I've seen this in the news. I've seen it on social media and stuff. Like these people who are in their 90s are starting podcasts, and it's going crazy because they're talking about general life stuff and younger generations are listening to it and they're taking their wisdom and they're going, this is great, and they're talking about everything. And just what they think about things or experiences that they've had or, what it's like to, be getting older and how they view the world right now. And it's doing so well. And like I said, it's so much easier. And you know what? If you are wanting to start a podcast, but you're nervous about the editing aspect of it or something like that, there's so many AI editors now or transcript editors. And I know it kind of sounds like a little scary, but transcript editing, it just converts your audio into a Word document and then you can delete words like you're just editing a Word document and it'll edit the audio. And
that's amazing. I just started recently doing stuff like that. I'm like, where were you 2 years ago? I'm like, oh my God, I just discovered that like a month ago. I'm like, oh, I can just delete the words and it's editing the show.
Exactly.
Yes,
Or put your
yes.
grandkids to work, like have them edit your podcast. Be like, hey, they know how
Exactly.
to edit things. I promise you.
Right, right. So, right. So that makes it easier if you have a show now, and plus there are platforms like Upwork and
Oh
Fiverr
yeah. Mm-hmm.
that where you can hire someone to edit your show. Don't do like I did after my friends got so busy he couldn't edit my show anymore. What did I do? I went to YouTube University. And I started learning how to edit
That's
on
what I did too.
iMovie of all places. iMovie. He keeps saying you have to switch to Adobe. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get there. But right now I'm gonna do iMovie, so
Yeah, iMovie works.
Yes, it does. It does.
It works. Yeah.
Yeah. So here again, taking out some of the intimidation factor. Yes, you're going to have to edit the show or you can find someone to do it. But thank God for AI. AI is a huge game changer when it comes to everything podcasting, in my opinion. And but getting back to that nursing home, I love that because as we know, as you get older, you have to stay with you have to have community.
Yeah.
In podcasting, it helps you do that. Plus, you meet people as well, and so you stay connected, you stay relevant. You're avoiding isolation because here again, you might be in your TV in your living room watching something on YouTube, watching a show on YouTube or, having your friends over. Maybe you guys have a card night or something. Oh, we're going to watch this podcast while we're playing our cards or whatever, Here again, podcasting brings people together. It really, really does. And so, yeah, I know that works for me. And there was something else. Let's see, editing. We talked about editing, news podcasts. We talked about the support. You brought something up earlier. You see, I don't have a podcasting website, but I have my regular website for Ageless Glamour Girls, which I have the podcasting link on there. But I was thinking maybe I should get a podcasting website.
Well, if you're a host on Buzzsprout, you actually already have a podcasting website.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. It's built in, it's included, and you can customize it. You can do your colors, you can put in a cover image, and it is so polished. You can even upload a host photo and put in like your host bio and like guest images and stuff like that. And then since you already have your own website, so for example, I have a website through Squarespace, which is insanely expensive. Oh my gosh, it's so expensive.
Yeah,
but
I don't mess with that. Anyway, I'm sorry.
But when you have like a separate website, you can actually on Buzzsprout we have embed players, and you can copy the code for the embed player and put it on your website, and will automatically populate your episodes onto your other website.
Wow. Yeah, that's
cool.
So cool. One of the things I want to talk about is monetization. It's a big deal. You hear about these podcasters who are making a ton of money, and I'm not going to call any names, but then, then there are the rest of us who don't know anything about sponsorships and affiliate links and all that. How can smaller creators realistically monetize? Because especially when you're talking about older people, you may want to, you may be looking for ways to help fund your retirement, or just just to have a little something on the side, And so how do you monetize a podcast?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to monetize a podcast, and I do agree with you that when you think about monetizing podcasts, typically you think about the big network shows that have all the programmatic ads and the commercials, and they've got the big sponsorships. And I will say, like, I've personally had sponsorship deals with like HelloFresh and BetterHelp and, all those ones that you've heard their ads a million times. And so I've done that, and it is such a pain in the butt. It is not the easiest thing ever to get sponsorships. And, I have a podcast with like over 13 million downloads, and it's hard to monetize that, which is wild. And so when you have a smaller niche podcast, one of the ways that I found is the best way to monetize a small audience is through listener support and subscriptions. And so listener support is just them thanking you for the content that you're already creating. Because the thing is, it's like a lot of podcasters, they feel like they have to do extra, and they've got to do all these affiliate links, and they've got to do all this like extra marketing and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is you are bringing value as a podcast already. And so it's okay to ask your listeners for support and just say, hey, if you enjoy this, I see you keep coming back every single week to my podcast. And if you're enjoying it, like I've got a link in the show notes and you can just hit a tip jar, or you can support the podcast for, $3 a month or something like that. And we have that built into Buzzsprout. We have listener support. So you can just toggle it on and start getting listener support right away. And it automatically puts a link in your show notes for all your episodes.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I have to do that. I don't think I'll do that.
You should do that. I was actually thinking about that. You should do that.
I should do that. It's so weird because I like a lot of people, I hate asking for anything. For 30 seconds, I did buy me a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Buy me a coffee.
And it's like, yeah. Because if you're bringing value, in so many different ways. But yeah, so those little trick ways, I like that right there.
Yeah.
And here again, I had my first collaboration recently with Bricker Labs, and it was because I loved their product.
Yes.
And so because of that, I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, do you have an ambassador program? And they didn't. And so we started working on one together. Cool. And that was fun. And I'm just so thankful that happened. And now I have another one. I slid into their DM that I'm about to release. I slid into their DM.
Yes.
And you just never know, what's going to show up and what's going to work.
Yeah, you do not have to be a huge podcast to get a sponsor. I know podcasters that hadn't even launched their show yet, and they went and landed themselves sponsors, or went and landed themselves, affiliate or ambassador kind of links with a show or with a company. And you do not have to be a massive, massive, massive major network podcast to get sponsorships. You can do it. It is hard though. And it is a lot of back and forth. And it's like this relationship that you're trying to build, and you're trying to like work with brands that you really believe in and you believe that your audience would like. And so, yeah, you can do that. Absolutely. But I feel like in terms of the least amount of work and effort and output possible, I believe that listener support is the best way to make money with your podcast, even if it's just covering the cost of making a podcast or upgrading your equipment in the future or something like that.
See, okay. I'll remember that. And thank you so much. In getting back to what you were saying about, friends, like-minded people. One of my dear friends I met at Podfest, Myrna Young, and the name of her show is Transform Your Mind. And we just hit it off instantly at Podfest. And I bring her up because we're good friends now. And that was 3 years ago we met. And you meet people, you socialize, and it's good to have a supportive group like Buzzsprout, but also be with like-minded people. It's like, you have friends, you have family, but here again, you want to be able to communicate with people who are in the game. Because you have that in common. Yes.
I highly encourage people to be in community with other podcasters. I highly encourage you to step into a podcasting conference and kind of get to know people face to face. I think when I first started, I was so nervous about going to my first podcasting conference. And then I found that the podcasting community is one of the nicest communities of creators I have ever encountered in my life. There's not an ego like you encounter with like social media influencers or with YouTubers. It's a completely different demographic of people. It's people who are like introspective and community based. Like there's not a competition element. Everyone is very like rising tides raises all ships. And I remember being nervous to meet the podcasting Hall of Famers. And I would see them at the conferences and I was like, I can't talk to them. They're not going to talk to me. And then I finally did talk to them. And now I'm like actually really good friends with a lot of them.
Yes.
Because they're so nice. Like they don't care. They didn't care that I wasn't as cool as them.
And no.
Yeah.
You hit on it. The podcasting conference, and a great great way to meet people. And you're right.
It is.
Everybody is so darn nice. It's because what I do for the third year, I did it this year. I just go up to women, of course, Ageless Glamour Girls. And I'm like, hey, this is who I am. What's your podcast about? Because I'm giving them, I'm like, let's share it with the world,
Yeah.
Tell us about your show. And of course, at the end, I'm like, and tell us about your ageless aging journey, any advice or whatever. And so, and I enjoy that. And I don't know these one, I'm walking up to women cold at a podcasting festival and getting this great information. So yes, to your point, like-minded people. And it's just so much fun. And you guys, Buzzsprout, of course, help make that fun for everybody.
I love it.
But this has been such a fun and informative conversation. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And before I forget, one more quick thing. And I want to stress to people, if you want to start your show, you can start it on anything. Start it on something you're passionate about. Right, Jordan? All bets, I mean, nothing is off limits. Well, some stuff is, but anyway. And as you get older, you do have so much more to share with the world, you have so many stories to share. So thank you for encouraging our, my people to get out there and get on that mic. I call it Ageless Glamour Girls on the mic.
I love it. Yes.
It's fun. It's fun. And as I said, you meet people and plus you get to learn new stuff.
Yep.
And you have to keep that mind going as you get older. So, like don't go as far as me, with the editing, with the Canva, with the graphics, I do everything. And I'm like, something has to stop. I got to start buying lottery tickets so I can hire a team. But anyway, Jordan, I digress. But anyway, Jordan, thank you so much. And keep doing what you guys are doing at Buzzsprout. And it's wonderful to see you here and always. And I'll see you in a few months in January, February, whatever, January. And at Podfest and there are other podcasting platforms, conferences also, around. So just check them out. And I'm going to get you guys some links in case you want to start a podcast, some information. And Buzzsprout is a great start, right? Because you guys, the newsletters, the podcast, you guys have a lot of great information on your site.
We focus a lot on resources and guides, like step-by-step guides. And like I said, you can write into support and just be like, help, and we will help you.
And with a quickness, you don't have to wait a week.
No, absolutely not.
Oh my gosh, you guys are fast. So anyway, Jordan, thanks again. Thank you for coming on the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast.
Thank you so much. I had an absolute blast. So if you ever want me to come back, I'm willing.
Thank you very much. Reconnect very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I don't know about you, but I certainly learned a lot of great information today. Thanks again, Jordan. Now, maybe after today's show, some of you are realizing, wait a minute, maybe my story matters too. And the answer is absolutely it does. Now, whether that means appearing on a podcast, starting your own show, or perhaps taking it a step further by joining us for Volume 2 of the Ageless Glamour Girls Amazon best-selling anthology, where women share their personal ageless aging journeys and life experiences, because your voice, your wisdom, your experience, and your story still matter deeply. Drop us a line at info@agelessglamourgirls.com if you're interested in becoming one of our new co-authors. Again, that's info@agelessglamourgirls.com. And don't forget to drop by the Ageless Glamour Girls Boutique for a peek at the best gifts for women 50 plus. Best gifts for women 50 plus. AgelessGlamourGirlsBoutique.com. Now, I just want to say again, thank you so much for joining us today and every week. And thank you for subscribing to the show. Thanks for joining us in our private Facebook group, the Ageless Cafe, and following us on Instagram, TikTok, and of course, the YouTube channel, the Ageless Glamour Girls YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing to that channel as well. Thank you, lovies, for spending your time with us today. And cheers to healthy aging and joyful living. And we'll reconnect again real soon. Bye-bye for now.